So here's a great opportunity for me to do a complete and total breakdown with the Apollo. Okay, so I just spent last few minutes working in a vat with heavy gloves, a respirator, and safety glasses. If you really want to cause yourself some harm, start using these little brushes with acetone and not any safety equipment. So here we go. All right, so we've got the gun body. Now normally I will take this off, but it's stuck on there because I had it soaking. But you want to oil inside of here as much as you can. Just to keep that moving freely. This normally we don't have to adjust anything, but it has some type of sealant on the inside of there, and so we want to make sure that all of that stays nice and lubed. So I've got everything that you can break down, and this thing broke down. So if you can get this off, you want to, oil the inside of that too. It just has a little baffle that goes back and forth, but mine's stuck on there right now, and I didn't feel comfortable. If it doesn't come off with a little bit of pressure, then don't worry. So you see, I got a little oil on my fingers. It's always a good idea to just take a little bit of oil from somewhere and kind of rub it into the places that usually don't get oil. Alright, so I have got every single thing outside of there. The first thing that I'm going to put together, now I recommend doing this with the trigger off. Doing it with the trigger off allows you to not only get to this gasket, but it allows you to get to this gasket. So this is the gasket that I had trouble with the other day, and this gasket gets worn, and if it doesn't get cleaned out real good, its paint starts to build up inside there. Now you don't really want to oil the outside, but you do want to put a drop of oil on the inside. And now that is going to go like this down there. Now I always like to get a little screwdriver and get it lined up straight. And then I take, so that's lined out with the skinny part, the little lip. This part goes down. So I drop it in there. Okay, so I get it kind of straight like that, and then I'm going to put this pin and just feel it click in. So how I know I got that right is if you can see there. So you can see it fits snug right in there. And now's the good time to put the oil on it. All right, so we're going to put some oil on this. This is where all the ground zero is for that part. So I'm going to stick that down in there, make sure it fits right in. Okay, now you can see it's nice and, smooth. Okay, now before I put the trigger on, the next thing I'm going to put in there is the compression gasket. So what happens with this is this gets pushed and your needle will fit through there. And this is the gasket that keeps the paint from leaking out that hole there. So we are going to go from the back side like this. And we're going to put it in there like that. And then again, I like to take, I got some of these at Harbor Freight. It's just really good to push them in there. Let that get down in there real nice. Then here's another spot that I like to oil. And I also like to oil back here where the threads are going to, where the needle's going to go. So then I'm going to get that right in here and get that started. A lot easier to do this with the trigger off. And I just want to get that hand tight there. Okay, so now I've got this gasket in and I've got this gasket in. So I'm going to put my trigger spring back in, fat side out. And then every time I go to put something back in, I'm going to oil it just to keep it from sticking. Okay, so this gets on there like that. Don't force it. If it doesn't go in, you know, by itself, then it's not right. You do not want to cross thread these. And you get it, you know, hand tight with greasy fingers. And then take a deep 5/8 socket and just snug it. Just snug it nice. You don't have to really, you know, put a 9/9 bind in. I love taking triggers off because it's really hard to get behind here with the trigger on. Also like to put a little drop of oil behind that. What's up, Mama? I'm doing an instructional video here. Hold on. And before you tighten it, get both screws in. I probably should have put the trigger on before I put the spring in. The oil just keeps it sticking easy, makes it easier for the next time that you take it off. Okay, now I'm going to test the action. Everything feels good. All right, so now I'm going to build the part where the air goes in. So first thing I'm going to do is take this and I'm going to build this. This just snaps in. Nice snap. And then I've got this gasket which has a thin side and a big side. I'm going to put the fat side out and I'm just going to kind of get it started. Okay, so that's done. Put this on where we can see the hole at 5 o'clock. And then that goes in just like that. At this point, I like to set this down. And then we're going to be using a 1.5 needle with the gravity fed. Actually, I'm going to use a 1.3. So the other place I like to oil is right here. And it doesn't have to be a ton. It just needs to be really good in those threads. And I like to wipe the top of this down with oil as well. So that's all lubed up. Very important. This gasket goes first. Thin side is this way. Thick side is this way. Thick side goes out. That's why I always test it at that point. So now when you test it, it should be a lot of resistance right there. Okay, and then right now I like to go ahead and put my air cap on. I use the C-High Solids cap for pretty much everything except for powder glazes and toners and stains. It makes a real thin, long pattern that's great for toning and for doing powder glazes where you need a really nice finesse coat. But for using these high solids products, this doesn't have any of those little holes, so it makes more of a beefier pattern instead of a long, skinnier pattern, and I like that a lot better. So I put the air cap on to keep from damaging this nozzle, because these little horns will protect it if it gets yanked off. And again, having it like this will give you a pattern like that, and having it like this will give you a pattern like that. So when I'm doing bases, I like a pattern that's sideways, and when I'm doing doors, I like a pattern that's this way. Okay, so the next thing we're going to go ahead and we're going to be using a gravity fed, so I'm going to put the cap down here, and don't wait, tighten that right then. Don't put it off to the end. Now I'm going to add my 1315 needle. Yep, 1315. Pull my trigger about halfway. And push that in there. I'm going to put this back in. This is the next place I like to oil. Just a little dab will do you. All right, and then one thing I wanted to point out is, since I'm going to be using a gravity fed, this plug right here is for using a pressure pot. If you're using any type of cup accessory or PPS, then you take this out and you put this in there. And one thing I like to do there is put a drop of oil on that. The reason being is because a lot of times you spray with it for a while, it will get build up, and then it will glue itself on there, and then it becomes hard to come off. Now this doesn't need to be super tight, because I have seen those twist off. So just keep checking it and make sure it's good. Now what will happen is I'll put the gravity fed, and then this borrows atomization pressure to push the paint, and it really works. All of our PPS cups and gravity fed and bottom fed are pressurized cups. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this up. usually when I'm putting a needle in, I'll try to put a little oil right there as well. The way that I can test that. It's real tight, so I'm just going to loosen it a little bit. If it's too tight, your needle won't go back fast enough. And if it's too loose, you're going to leak paint. So I can watch that needle, and I make sure that needle goes right back in. If it was hesitant, then it's fighting that gasket. Okay, that looks good. Now we're going to take our gravity fed cup. This is a new one. And right out of the box, I like to put that on there and give it a good snug. Like that. Now this was already together, but if it wasn't, what you're going to want to do is make sure that you can blow. So the black side is for the paint side. So you want to be able to blow into the top of your cup. So this gets depressed and you can pull that out. This is so you can take it off and clean it, but you want to make sure that all that is tight before you go to spraying. So now I'm testing it. If I blew in it and nothing happened, then that means this is backwards. Fill it up. Now, one thing that I want to talk about, the gravity fed cup is kind of temperamental. So sometimes what I'll do, especially on a new one, is I'll put some oil on these threads right here. And that will help it. Because sometimes aluminum to aluminum, it gets kind of sticky. So I go to the left until I feel it click like that. You see how I did that? So when I set it down, I go left until it clicks and then tighten it. And then I always want to make sure that this part is tight as well. And then now, that goes on there. That doesn't have to be pushed on there like very far. You really don't want to get it farther than the first couple of ribs, because it'll be hard to take off. So now I'm going to take you over here to show you how I test the gun. Okay, with the Precision-5 LE, you've got a 4-second delay. I'm checking for leaks. So if you were to have a PPS Mini like I would have, everything would be the same here. If you had the 34 adapter with the bottom feed, everything would be the same here, and this would not be up here. It would be down there. So always having this go to your pressurized. If it was a bottom feed cup, it would go to the top of your cup. So that is the total breakdown of Apollo. Now when I clean this, I'm gonna make sure that I wanna oil this little spot right here, because what will happen is if it gets paint built up in there, you're actually gonna push that gasket out, and you're gonna feel air leaking. Like, it's gonna feel like it's leaking from up here back at your hand, but it's not. It's actually coming out of here and bouncing off. So my standard settings, after I get the paint going, I close this all the way down till it stops, and I close this all the way down till it stops. Normally, I don't care what I'm doing, this is gonna come down 1, 2, 3. Is gonna come out 3 turns. 1, 2, 3. That's where I normally start everything. So if I'm cruising along and it's taking me a little too long, I don't add fan. I add a little bit more paint, and in return, it's going to give you a bigger fan. So don't be so quick to adjust your fan. Be a little quicker to give yourself a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I mean a quarter of a turn. That's it. Back or forth. Don't be cranking on it too much. You just, from all the way closed, 1, 2, 3. And then if I need more paint, it's quarter turns, more or less. If I do need just a little bit more fan, it's gonna be like half a notch. I mean, did you see that? Watch. That's adjustment. That's it. That's it. Just little bitty bumps. Little bitty bumps. Normally my turbine pressure is at 5.5, unless I'm really trying to get a bunch done. Then my turbine, I'll go up to 6.5. But on a Precision-5, you very seldom, unless I'm blowing stuff off, I never use that Precision-5 at full strength. It's just you'll end up blowing more paint around. The real technology is in this gun right here. So the atomization is so nice that the air comes up and it's not restricted and it's diffused. So to really get the most out of your gun, try just barely adding paint as you go along. If you start out with things too open, it's just going to be real hard to get that nice finish. So I'm very confident right now that I can put black primer in this. Harbor Freight has these gun stands. I got that one at Wood Finish Depot, I think, or Rockler or somewhere like that, but $15 gets you one of those. Also, the good thing is you have a gun holder right here that you can set your gun in that works real good. So, all right, I'll be doing a video on pressure pot soon.